Welcome to the Solo Grind, where we shine a light on the raw and real journey of being a solo entrepreneur. I am Teresa, your guide on this adventure of going it alone without a safety net and without the rule book. The grind is real, my friend, and so are the wins, the freedom, and the joy of building success on your own terms. I'm here to debunk the myths, share some laughs, and share what it takes to thrive as a go-getter, busy, doing it all entrepreneur. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of the Solo Grind, and welcome to a new month. February is all about love. And so we are going to be loving on our businesses this month in a whole bunch of different ways. And starting off with today, I've got a very special guest with me, Lesley Myrick, who is a dynamic force behind her own luxury interior design brand. And as an experienced interior designer, business coach, and design media personality, Lesley brings her industry experience and fresh perspective to the world of Profit Insiders with Nancy Ganzekaufer. Lesley intimately understands the challenges faced by interior designers and is here to help. Through her infectious positivity, she motivates interior designers to breathe life into their challenging projects and overcome their biggest obstacles. So whether you are looking to revitalize your design business or infuse creativity into your projects, Lesley is going to guide you towards success, style, and abundance. And I can tell you right now, Lesley could not be all the things that she is and so much more that I have gotten to know, just getting to know her, if she was not a master at time management. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today is time management that fits your personality. And I love the concept of this because over the years, there's always been all these time management hacks. Like you have to do this in order to manage your time. And I would try and do them. And I'm like, that just doesn't work for me. Like it's not what it is. And over time, I've kind of developed my own skills, but it's through understanding my personality that I've done this in a very unofficial way. So I can't wait to hear what you have to share. Lesley, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Teresa. That was such a kind introduction. And I'm so happy to be able to talk about this topic because I am nerdily passionate about time blocking and organization and task management and all those things. And you're right. They really are, even if you don't consider yourself an organized person, maybe you're on the creative side and the organization, the time management overwhelms you. You really can't have a successful business without it. But you hit the nail on the head. It's not a one size fits all. I've taken great courses and programs that spoke to me with a very specific time management style that I know so many, like my husband's a great example. He and I look at things entirely differently. He would hate it. He could not keep up with those specific time management tools. So, this is why Nancy and I, and we're so excited that this is out in the world now, we created the Design Your Time Management for Interior Designers by Personality Type free training because who you are and what your natural abilities and strengths and personality is matters when it comes to figuring out how to best use your time.
I love that. And I want you to talk more about this piece here. So the personality is such a powerful thing, like
Mhm.
understanding who you are and what your strengths are. And right before we hopped on, we were talking about our strengths because I am a big proponent of Strengths Finder. And honestly, I should probably do an episode on Strengths Finder because it's one of the most powerful books out there that has helped me understand who I am as a business owner, who I am as a wife. My husband and I both did Strengths Finder, in fact, so that we could understand what our strengths were because we are like oil and water and sometimes, oil and fire. I mean,
Me and my husband too. I
we're
totally get that.
so completely different and so completely opposite. But because now we understand each other's strengths, we understand each other better and we're able to navigate this crazy life of marriage so much more easily. In fact, this year will be 30 years we have been married.
Congratulations. That is no small feat.
Oh my God, it is no small feat. I honestly, there were times I weren't sure we would get here.
Yeah.
But we're going to be there. So talk to me more about that piece of things.
Okay, so I'm also not only am I a nerd for time management, I love personality tests. I think it's so fascinating. And I know some people don't like to be put in a box. I weirdly do. It's very comforting to me to be like, oh, this explains why I like this or I'm drawn to this, but I have a hard time with this other thing.
Yeah.
So I have loved, like, I've done strength finders. My husband and I did that together as well. I think that's a really valuable one. We decided to base this time management training on the Myers-Briggs personality type. So if you've ever heard someone say things like, I'm an INFJ, those four letters are, I know. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're like, what is going on here? Don't worry. In the free training, we tell you to pause it and we give you a link to go take an online assessment that is totally free to figure out what you are. You don't need to know all the nitty-gritty and details. You just need to know those four letters so that we can help you with that
Yes.
personality type. But basically,
And we'll make sure that
Myers
all of those proper links are in the show notes for so people can quickly reference them today.
fabulous because I know we're throwing out a lot of weird information if you're not familiar with
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs. But basically, you're either an introvert or an extrovert, and it is kind of a scale. What's the next one? Intuitive versus sensory, feeling versus thinking, and judging versus perceiving. So those are, and again, those don't get caught up on the letters yet if you don't know what I'm talking about. But
Right.
basically, you'll get information that tells you, are you more introverted or extroverted? Are you more sensory or feeling? And it sort of
Mhm.
gives you a sense of your personality as a whole, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Like, for example, J is judging, and that sounds really bad, but it's more like analysis, organization versus perceiving. I'm a hardcore J. I want my calendar, I want my schedule, I want my to-do list, I want everything organized and written down. My husband is very much a P, and he resists calendars and he likes keeping stuff in his head. So, not only learning about you and your time management strengths for your business can help, but it can help you with the people around you to understand them better and to maybe give them a few tips on how they can do stuff too. Because I know what works for me doesn't work for my husband, probably doesn't work for Nancy, probably doesn't work for some of the designers we coach. But there's crossover, but there's also a lot of differences. And I think this training is so unique because of that,
Mhm.
because it's not one size fits all. It's here's your strengths and your interests and your natural abilities. Here's how you can best use some of the tools out there to support how you think and run your days.
Absolutely. And I did Myers-Briggs in the corporate world years ago. It
Mhm.
was probably 20 years ago. And I remember it was really fascinating. I had just started a new position, a new management position in an IT area.
Mhm.
I was building. I wasn't even managing. I was starting to build their support desk, their IT support desk. And 20 years ago, companies just didn't have support desks like they do now.
No.
It was, like somebody who was willing to take on technology, answering a phone when they had a chance. And so this was a really very new concept. And here I am, extreme extrovert at that point in time. I'm interested to see how it's changed because I
Yeah.
don't feel that I'm an extreme extrovert anymore. In fact, I have a lot more introverted tendencies. But here I was, an extreme extrovert in a department full of extreme introverts. I mean, me and one of the guys that we honestly struggled to communicate, we didn't
Yeah.
dislike each other. We just did not know how to communicate with each other. And we often were looking at each other with perplexed looks like, what are you saying? But after we did the Myers-Briggs as a management team, I understood where he was. He was so far over, and he understood where I was. And it honestly cemented a really fabulous working relationship. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of became a power team because we learned to tap into each other's strengths and we learned how to communicate with each other because we understood each other better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so tell me, how is this training? Because this is something that I think everybody's going to want to participate in. Tell me a little bit more about this training and how it's going to benefit people and things like that.
Yeah, so the goal of the training is really to start to be aware of your strengths and your challenges. Like, where are your weak spots? Where do you need more support? We're going to teach you how to leverage your strength and then how to adopt tools and make them work for you. There are some sort of standard, there's calendars, there's to-do lists like Asana and Trello, and there actually are ways, even if you're like, oh, I tried that, I didn't like it, there might be ways to adapt it to make it work for your unique personality type. And really, the ultimate goal here, let's get clear, is to manage your time more efficiently and reduce stress. When you are not worried about missing deadlines, dropping the ball, forgetting tasks, when your life is organized, it kind of seems counterintuitive, but that that constraint, that discipline, that organization actually gives you a lot of freedom because your brain is freed up to think about beautiful fabric and wallpaper combinations or new custom furniture designs or marketing to your next client. You're not panicking playing whack-a-mole because you've forgotten things to do because you're disorganized or you're late for a meeting and running behind. So really, I think reducing stress and shifting from being reactive in your days to proactive, that's what this training can help with. And that's been a huge one for me because, gosh, I hate the feeling of waking up and already feeling like I'm behind. And there's
Mhm.
emails and there's fires to put out and there's client needs. And I just feel like I'm drowning. And this has really helped me get on top of the water and get a good picture of everything and feel like I'm floating and I can handle it versus I'm barely making it through. So if you're
I
struggling with this, just know that there are ways, even if you're not naturally gifted at time management or organization, this can help you. There are ways to learn how to do this better to reduce your stress.
I am loving this so much because being a solo entrepreneur, you are juggling all the balls. Like we were talking a little bit about that, juggling all the things, putting together this podcast. Like I
Yeah.
do all the pieces to the podcast. And that's why I wasn't sure I was going to continue into season two because it's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
As you know,
Absolutely.
you've had a podcast in
Mhm.
the past. You've had two podcasts in the
I've had
past.
two. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's so much work. If I did not have my time management in place, if I did not, I love that analogy, standing on top of the water and taking a look rather than being immersed in all of the chaos and things like that. It's so powerful. And as a solo entrepreneur, as my listeners here are solo entrepreneurs, we understand exactly what it is to be buried in that, into that fear,
Yeah.
into that aspect. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I want to hear your insights into that because you juggle a lot of balls yourself. I mean, you have your own interior design business. You
Hmm.
also are associate coach with Nancy. You have a family, you have a life, you have a lot going on in the world. So let's talk a little bit about that piece of things, that time management.
Yeah, there definitely were some mindset shifts I had to make to get out of this reactive mindset because you're right. Like, I'm not alone in this. I'm solo business owner with a small virtual freelance team. I've got young kids. We just got a puppy. We travel. Families are out of state. We have family out of the country. I mean, life is a lot. And not that that's a bad thing. It's just we all have a lot going on. There's never going to be a time where you're like, it's all easy and we've got it figured out. This morning, my husband and I spent half an hour trying to make estimated tax payments to the IRS. Like there's always going to be life stuff and
Right.
things that come up personally and professionally. And there's a few mindset shifts, and we talk about this in more depth in the training,
Of course.
but a few of them I wanted to share because I think they're so important is to set boundaries and know that you don't have to be everything to everyone. And that's a big one for a lot of us. Designers are helpers. We want to help people. We want to help them make their homes beautiful. We are in a service industry, but you have to set boundaries and you can't be everything to everyone. So that
No.
is a big mindset shift.
Mhm.
Another mindset shift that people struggle with, but it's so important that no should be your default, not yes.
That's and that is such a hard one to learn, but I have a good friend of mine, Pat, who used to tell me, Teresa, no is a complete sentence.
I love that. It is.
It is,
And
and
we
I'm
don't want
like,
to be
oh
rude.
my
We
God,
want to
it
be
is.
nice and helpful. But yeah, no, I'm not available right now. Thank you. Like you really can. And I love this approach of no should be your default, not yes. It doesn't mean you should say yes or you shouldn't say yes. I mean,
Right.
it means your immediate answer should not be yes. I have been asked, I'm going to use my church as an example. I've been asked several times to be on church committees, and some of them are great, and I would
Mhm.
love to do it. And I have learned not to say yes and give myself some time to think about it. Talk to my husband. Does this fit in our schedule? Does this really work? Do we have to let go of something else for this? And I have learned to say, thank you so much for thinking of me. Let me have a few days and I will get back to you. I have learned to buy myself time because my instinct is always, that sounds great. I'd love to help. And then 3 months later, I'm going, what the crap did I agree to? Like, I can't handle this. I'm not passionate about
Mhm.
it. I said yes because I like the person or whatever the reason is.
Yep.
So set boundaries, start with no, or at least buy yourself time to think
Mhm.
through a decision. And I'm someone who's fairly intuitive and a quick decision maker. So this has been tough for me because I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Let's go. Nope. Slow it down, Lesley. Take a minute, take a beat
Take a minute.
because It's so easy to get buried in life when you say yes to everything. And every
Mhm.
yes should align with your values and goals. And if it doesn't, it probably has to be a no. And that's hard for us.
Honestly, I think every aspect of your life should align with your values and your goals. And
Yeah.
that's why in my own free training and stuff I have, we start off with
Hmm.
branding and it starts off with what are your core values? Like what are your
Yes.
real core values? And I understand that faith and family and friends are all important to you.
But they're
Take
important to
them
all of us. Like those are kind of
take them out
obvious
of the
ones.
equation and let's look
Yeah.
deeper than that, because it's so powerful and it's so important. And as a solo entrepreneur, we are go-getters. We are very highly achieving people. We are
Yep.
out there and we're fast and quick to say no because it sounds like a great idea or because we love the person or it's something that we think is important to have into this world. And
Hmm.
so we want to say yes to everything. And for me, being raised with a volunteer spirit, like my pops, he is an incredible volunteer.
Yeah.
He has given so much time and energy to volunteering to making the world a better place. And I'm so proud of him. And he instilled that in us. And so then I really feel like I have to say yes to things. But you're right. Buying yourself some time saying, let me think about that and asking yourself, like the really key questions for me is, how does this fit into my calendar without
Yeah.
sacrifice? Because if I have to sacrifice me and my health or my well-being or my healthy mental state, it can't happen.
Yep. And you
How
might
does
be
it?
saying no to good things, and it's
And
hard,
it's
but you
hard.
have to you cannot be everything to everyone.
And you have to prioritize yourself first. And that's something that I want to instill into this month. Maybe that'll be the theme of our love month is you've got to take care of yourself first. And that often means saying no, thank you, saying, I'm sorry, I can't commit right now. It may mean that you have to, but it's prioritizing yourself, your
It is.
values, your goals, and what you want to achieve. And that is how you become highly successful when, especially as a solo entrepreneur,
Yep.
when you put those boundaries in place and you prioritize yourself first.
You nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, okay, good stuff. Tell me more. What else can you share about this training? Because I really want people to participate in this training because it's so incredible. And I know you and Nancy, your primary niche is interior designers, but I
Hmm.
know Nancy works with any service-based entrepreneur as well. And
Yes.
has helped me in incredible ways to build my business and things like that. And she's helped others that are in this place. So anyone could participate, I feel like, and benefit from this training.
Yes, this is definitely not interior design specific. We have used some designers examples in the
Sure.
training, but it really is more about personality types, what your challenges are, what your strengths are, and tools and tips to help you specifically. So, if you'd like, Teresa, I will dive into mine because I will share
Hmm.
vulnerably what my struggles are with time management. And if you do know your Myers-Briggs, we can do yours as well. But one
Okay.
interesting thing Nancy and I discovered doing this, our personality types are very similar. I'm an INFJ. She is an ENFJ, so she's the extroverted version. Everything else is the same. However, our time management and our natural styles are completely different, which really surprised me. I didn't think that would have such a huge effect on it. So let me just scroll down and take a look. So for INFJ and INFP, I'm going to give you a sneak peek of those two today. We are called the idealists, and we are driven by personal values and
Hmm.
big picture thinking. We're introspective and motivated by purpose. And that is like, check, check, check. That all makes sense for me. But here's the challenge for idealists like me, INFPs and INFJs. We can get lost in ideas and struggle with mundane tasks, and may feel overwhelmed by large goals. This is like painfully accurate. I am like a little mini detail person. I'm like, I've got in my calendar this morning, it's like, go to the library, go to the UPS store, do this errand, take care of this. You talk about like business building for the next 5 years, and I just freeze up. The big scares me. So let's talk about tips for people who are like me, INFPs, INFJs, what we consider the idealists. The first tip we have is to break down big goals into small, actionable tasks. Some people just love seeing the big goal and they can get started and start working on it. I need to know what's the next step I can do today. Who do I have to pick up the phone and call? What email do I have to write? What do I have to research? I need to start breaking down those goals into actions I can take without too much thought into them. And number two is to use visual goal trackers to stay motivated and monitor progress. I love like tracking apps on my phone. I can see the chain of consistency. That's really motivating to me to stay on track. Number three, this is a huge one for me specifically, but I think a lot of introverts schedule reflection and creative time to recharge. This is just as important as the nose to the grindstone, get the client work done. I cannot show up and have the bandwidth to do these things if I have not had the time to recharge myself and to be creative and have
Mhm.
fun. I find that personality types like mine, we're very good at sucking the fun out of things and just getting like so business and organized that I have to be like, no, no, it's okay to just go play for an hour, go mess around with Midjourney and design some rooms or color schemes, or go to the showroom and just find some new samples for my library, not for a client, just to get myself inspired again. And then the last tip I have for the idealists are to set firm deadlines to avoid procrastination on the details. I'm very much someone who is outside accountable. I'm great at dropping the ball on myself. I will skip the gym even though it's in my calendar because no one's going to care. But you better freaking believe if I've told a client I'm going to have something for them, I am going to have something for them. So that external accountability, those deadlines
Mhm.
really, really help me.
You know what? I honestly, you almost could have been reading mine in so many ways. There's a lot of similarities to what you're saying
Hmm.
to me. And I'm
There is a
curious.
lot of overlap in all of these,
Yeah,
Teresa.
I'm
Like
gonna go and
yeah.
redo that assessment. I'm
Okay.
curious because where I am now, because so many of the things that you were saying, I definitely relate to, and especially that recharge piece. And I kind
Yeah.
of want to talk about that one because as solo entrepreneurs, we wake up, hit the ground running, check, 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 check. By 9 a.m., we have all these things done, and we've
Yep.
already have more accomplished in a day than most people by 9 a.m. And it was really hard for me to learn, but actually, I like I had to stop hitting the ground running and I had to start really slow because I would be burnt out. I had and my brain would just be mush. By 3 o'clock, I'm like falling asleep and I cannot do anymore. And then I would get cranky and then I'd get irritable and then I would find a way to squash it down,
Yeah.
and then by the time my husband come up, it's bubbling to the top again. And then I wasn't a really pleasant person to be around because I never took that time to recharge. I didn't take that time to
Yeah.
be creative. I didn't learn or listen to my own triggers and signals and things like that. And so, like for me, one of the things that I did just to survive, and I'm sharing this just because I want people to know you have permission to structure your day,
Hmm.
is I do not take any meetings before 9:30 at all. I have no meetings before 9:30 whatsoever. Anytime I break that rule, I get so cranky with myself and so irritable.
Yeah.
And I actually like my husband, it's so funny because he's like out of the house at 6:30 in the morning, having coffee, starting his day. And I'm like crawling out of bed at 7. And then I sit there with my pets. I've got a bevy of pets all around me right now. We've got two new kittens, we've got our winter cat, and then two dogs and an occasional cat that shows up on once in a while. So I'm snuggled up with my pets and my coffee and my fake fireplace on the YouTube and just whatever. Like I could be scrolling on my phone, I could be journaling, I could just be sipping coffee. But
Yeah.
I take that morning every single day to recharge because it's necessary for me. And so that's some of what I hope or I feel like this training is helping you understand what is necessary for you.
Yes. That's exactly it. What is necessary for you? Not everybody needs that. Some
No.
extroverts, they want time with people to recharge. I can't even fathom that. Like I want you to all go away so I can have some creative quiet time. But
Yeah.
that's exactly it, is that we all need different things. And I love what you talked about with this recharge and giving yourself what you need in the morning. My husband and I, this is maybe a year or two ago, we started having some conflict over the fact that he's more of a night person. By the time the evenings came and the kids were in bed, I had nothing to give. I was exhausted. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to hang out. And I realized I'm like, this is the most important person in my life. And I'm prioritizing getting up at 6:30, getting the kids to school, diving right into work at my desk at 7 o'clock and getting things done. I was like, this is so backwards. Like, I can't,
Yeah.
this isn't a successful life. And the best thing I have done, and this took discipline, I will say, because this is not my natural setting, is every morning our kids get on the bus at 7, and from 7 to 7:30, my husband and I sit and we have coffee. And we play Wordle and we talk and we start our day. and he's getting my best instead of the leftovers at the end of the night. And for me, I've actually grown to really appreciate this and like this time, but it took a while. I was annoyed a lot of mornings that we were just sitting there doing nothing, drinking coffee when I'm like, I've got stuff to do. Let's go. But this has been very helpful, kept me more balanced, and it really does work with my personality type. It's just this intentional kind of reflection, relaxation. I can think about my day. I'm not just hitting the ground running in reactive mode. And I think it's shifted a lot building this into my schedule
Mhm.
because I'm telling myself it's okay to rest. It's okay to
Yeah.
relax. It's okay to not start at 7 a.m. and be responding to everyone else's needs. You you can sit and recharge and get what you need so
Mhm.
that when you do hit the ground running at 8, you've got what you need to show up the best you can. So there might be some big changes needed for you if you're feeling like things are out of whack, out of alignment, things aren't working, you're struggling, you're giving your leftovers to your best people. This training could be really, really helpful, not just in business, but truly in life too, because it's all intertwined. There's no separation.
There's
We're
no
always thinking about
silo.
work and kids and life, and
Yep.
so
Yep.
I hope this is helpful, especially if you're new to Myers-Briggs and you aren't even aware of, are
Mhm.
you more introverted or extroverted? Are you more calendar driven or more loose and free? I think this will really, really help not only give you some understanding of your natural strengths and abilities and
Mhm.
tendencies, but figure out what you need to succeed because it's not what everyone else needs to succeed.
Absolutely. And I will say, being more intentional with my time and figuring
Mhm.
out what is necessary for me, not some 5 tips to live your best life, like
Yeah.
none of that crap. That might be something to try, but it may or may not work for you. But learning to be very intentional with my time and giving me myself what I need. And I love what you said. Not giving my husband the leftovers. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that has been a game changer. And, because he's always been incredibly supportive when I wanted to launch a business, when I wanted to do this, even when he didn't understood it, he's always been supportive. But there are lots of times over this journey that I've given him the leftovers and it's
Yeah.
hurt. I guarantee it's hurt. It would hurt me as well.
Yeah.
And so knowing that, just setting that intentional time, I am able to be so much more accomplished as a business owner. I am so much more happier as a person. I am so much better as a wife, as a mom, as a pet owner. I have time to be creative and rearrange pictures on my walls. I have time to sit and be silly and whatever the case is.
Yeah.
I am so much more productive. Oops, pardon me. Thanks, iPhone, for not letting me respond with the button. Back to what I was saying though, I'm so much more as a person because
Yes.
I became intentional with my time. And I feel like this is what this training is going to do for people
Yeah.
is help.
And
Okay.
these aren't the typical like block your calendar. I mean, yes, that's in here too, but I think that's the biggest one for me is I need that reflection creative time. One thing I also do, if you're also an introvert like me, this might be helpful. This was advice from a therapist I saw a few years ago, and she said every few months, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, you need to go away for 2 nights by yourself to a nice hotel, go to the spa, and don't bring work, bring a journal, bring art supplies, bring music, and just reflect, be alone, be creative. And it's funny because I tell this to some people and they're like, I would never want to go by myself. I'd want a friend. And I'm like, I don't want anyone to talk to me for 2 days. That sounds glorious. So that has been huge. And I will tell you, without good time management, there's no way I can just block off 2 or 3 days on my calendar. We've got, kid pickup and drop off and schedules and this and that and work. This takes intentionality and planning, but it makes my life so much better, makes me happier, my family's happier. So it's so important to get a good handle on this and what you need and make it work with your schedule and your life. Because hello, we're not solo entrepreneurs for nothing. Like we're all control freaks who want the freedom to do what we want. And guess
Right?
what? No one's going to give you permission to go take 2 days off by yourself at a spa. You've got to do that and own that and say, this is what I need to be the best version of myself for my business, for my clients, for my kids, for my spouse, for my friends, for my parents. See you in 3 days. It's worth it to own that and not have to be everything to everyone, to have those boundaries and to own what you need and stand up for yourself. And that means putting it on the calendar, making it happen. not just hoping you'll sometime have the time to do this because you won't. We all
You
know
won't
that.
schedule it. You will find a
No,
million reasons not to schedule that time to yourself.
correct.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always justifications. And oh my God, Lesley, this conversation has been so incredible. I think we could probably talk for hours
Yes, we
about
could.
so many.
I'm so into this, and I know you are too.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. What do my listeners need to know in order to participate in the training, to connect with you and Nancy? What now's your chance. Sell everything you want.
You got it. The best place to go is nancyganzekaufer.com. There is a free resources tab. You will find this free training and a lot of other good stuff. Don't get overwhelmed. Start with this one so you've got time to go to the other ones.
Yeah.
But she's an awesome coach. I love working with her. She was one of my first coaches, so I can absolutely speak to the value she brings. And I hope you get this training and that you learn a lot from it because we haven't seen a time management training like this before that really speaks to that individual personality. So I hope you get something out of this, even if it's one tip that changes things for you. I think it's in there, and I think it's really going to help if you're struggling with stress and overwhelm and frustration and feeling like you are drowning
Mhm.
half the time. We want you above the water in the boat, cruising along, not treading water, trying to stay afloat every day.
Yeah. And honestly, that one tip could be the game changer for the year. It really
Yeah.
could. And I can speak to coaching. I've coached with Nancy as well. I've had a lot of coaches over my career. Hands down, Nancy has always been my favorite and my best coach.
Aw.
She's still the coach that I will go back to when I need a
Yeah.
refresher or a tune-up or just a fresh perspective because she's not cookie cutter. She's very real with every single person. And the training and things in her free resources is very real. It's real life. It's not, here's some fluffy looking stuff that'll look pretty in
Yeah.
marketing. It's down deep, really good stuff.
We're not going to waste your time. We know how
No.
busy you are. And honestly, her freebies are solid. They are definitely worth taking a look at. So just go to her website, free resources tab, and you'll find the training.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. So we will have all of the links of things that we've talked about to the free training, the direct link to this training, Nancy's website, all of those things are going to be in the show notes that you guys can take a look and definitely spend the time to dive in because it's going to be worth it. Just carve out a day. This could be your first getaway is doing this training.
Oh, yep. Even a morning. The training's only about an hour. It's okay.
Oh, perfect. So
You don't
carve
you don't
out
need
like
6 hours to do this.
no,
Go to a
block out a
coffee shop, put in your AirPods for an hour, and just give yourself this time to learn this and take that first step towards improving things in your life and your business.
And I will say this too, when you learn to carve out just that 1 hour to do it, all of a sudden you're going to start seeing where you can carve out more time. I give
Yes.
myself full VIP days where I dive into the big picture of my business. And I'm like you,
Mhm.
I'm not a 5 year plan. I have no idea where I'm going to be in 5 years. I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to be at the end of this year. I just know
Preach
what
it.
my focus and priority is for today. And I'm going to dive in, I'm going to give it my best.
Yeah,
And that's okay. But as you start giving yourself that time, it is such a game changer, and that's when new levels of success really start presenting themselves in my
100%.
experience.
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. Lesley, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to have you here, and I look forward to having you back in
Thank you,
another
Teresa.
episode. All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Solo Grind. I hope this episode brought you some inspiration and encouragement. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and feel free to share. For more tips and insights, visit caffeinecreative.io to check out my blog or explore the Creative Vault, my free course library. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'd love to hear how this episode has helped you.